If you are waking up 2, 3, even 4 times a night to use the bathroom, I need you to stop scrolling for the next 20 minutes because what I am about to show you is not what your doctor has told you, and it is not what you have read online. Most people over 60 think the answer is simple. Just drink less water at night. I'm going to show you why that advice is not only wrong, it might actually be making your nighttime bathroom trips worse. The conventional approach fails most people over 60 because it treats nocturia as a fluid volume problem when it is almost always a fluid timing problem. My name is Dr. David Mercer. I am a urologist, and in 28 years of practice, I have sat across from patients just like you, exhausted, frustrated, afraid to travel, afraid to sleep through a movie, afraid to even nap on the couch without worrying about making it in time. I have heard the same story hundreds of times. The person who tried cutting water at 6 in the evening and still woke up 3 times. The person who stopped drinking after dinner entirely and still could not make it through the night. These strategies fail not because the person followed them incorrectly, but because they are built on a misunderstanding of how the body manages fluid. Here is the truth. There is a specific way to drink water, a timing, a rhythm, a method that can cut your nighttime bathroom trips down dramatically. In some cases, from 4 times a night to 0. And I am going to walk you through the complete exact method step by step in this video. But stay with me until the end, because tip number 4 is the one almost nobody talks about, and it is often the real reason people over 60 are still waking up at 2 in the morning, even after they have tried everything else. Before we dive in, let me explain quickly why this matters so much, especially after 60. Nighttime urination, we call it nocturia in medicine, is not just an annoying inconvenience. It is one of the most common reasons seniors report poor sleep, daytime exhaustion, and even falls in the middle of the night. Broken hip fractures from stumbling to the bathroom in the dark are something I see far too often in my practice. So this is not just about comfort. This is about your safety, your energy, your independence, and honestly, your quality of life. What most people do not fully appreciate is the cascade that follows a night of broken sleep. When you are up 2, 3, 4 times a night, you are not just losing the hours you are awake. You are disrupting your sleep cycles in a way that prevents you from reaching the deep, restorative sleep stages that your brain and your body depend on for repair. Daytime exhaustion follows. Then brain fog. Then the kind of physical fragility that comes from a body that never fully recovers. The mental and physical toll of nocturia extends far beyond the bathroom trips themselves, which is exactly why treating it as a minor inconvenience is such a costly mistake. The good news in most cases, this is fixable, not with medication, not with expensive supplements, with something as simple and as free as how and when you drink water. And that is what we are going to cover today, in detail, with 5 rules that form a complete daily method you can start using tonight. Let us talk about why this happens in the first place, because understanding the why is what makes the solution actually stick. When patients understand the mechanism, they follow the method. When they are just handed a tip without context, they try it once and abandon it when it does not produce a miracle overnight. So let me give you the context that makes these 5 rules make sense. Here is something most people do not realize. As we age, our bodies change in 3 specific ways that affect nighttime urination. And once you understand these 3 things, the solution I am about to give you will make complete sense. First, your bladder capacity changes. The bladder is a muscle, and like every other muscle in the body, it can lose some of its elasticity over time. That means it holds less than it used to, so it signals you sooner, sometimes even when it is not truly full. After 60, this process has been going on for years, and the effect compounds in ways most people never connect to their sleep quality. The bladder that once comfortably held fluid through a full 8 hours of sleep now demands attention at 2, 3, 4 in the morning. Not because it is broken, because it has changed, and nobody sat you down to explain that change or to tell you there is a sensible response to it. Second, your body's fluid rhythm shifts. When you were younger, your body was very good at holding on to fluid during the day and releasing more of it while you were awake. As we get older, that rhythm can flip. More fluid gets released at night instead of during the day. This is called nocturnal polyuria, and it is one of the most common and most fixable causes of nighttime bathroom trips. The key word there is fixable. This is not something you have to accept as permanent. Your body's fluid rhythm can be nudged and redirected with the right daily patterns, and that is exactly what the 5 rules I am about to share with you are designed to do. Third, daytime habits catch up with you at night. Coffee in the morning, tea in the afternoon, that glass of wine with dinner, salty food at lunch. All of these affect how your kidneys process fluid hours later, often right around the time you are trying to fall asleep. The delay between when you consume something and when your kidneys process, it is longer than most people realize, and it plays out in the dark in ways that interrupt the sleep you desperately need. The good news is that all 3 of these factors respond to the same approach, the timing-based method I am going to walk you through right now. Now here is the important part. Most people try to fix this by simply cutting back on water in the evening, and I understand the logic. Less water in, less need to go, right? Except that is not how the body actually works. And this is where most people over 60 are getting it wrong. Let me address the most common mistakes I see, because knowing what not to do is just as important as knowing what to do. Mistake number 1, drastically cutting water intake in the evening. When you drink too little water overall, your urine becomes more concentrated. Concentrated urine is actually more irritating to the bladder lining, not less. That irritation can trigger the sensation that you need to go, even when your bladder is not full. So cutting water too aggressively can backfire and make you feel like you need to go more often, not less. I see this regularly in my practice, and patients are genuinely surprised when I explain that their attempt to reduce trips was actually increasing them. They followed the advice they found online, reduced their evening water, and felt worse. Not because the intention was wrong, but because the information was incomplete. Mistake number 2, skipping water all day and then catching up in the evening. This is incredibly common with seniors who get busy, forget to drink during the day, and then realize at 6 in the evening they have barely had anything. So they try to make up for it with a big glass of water right before bed. That is almost guaranteed to wake you up at midnight. The body cannot process a sudden large fluid load any faster than usual just because you need it to. And the result is predictable. The kidneys receive a flood of fluid at 9 in the evening and dutifully process it at 2 in the morning, right on schedule. Mistake number 3, not accounting for hidden fluids and hidden sodium. Soup, fruit, ice cream, that innocent-looking sauce on your pasta. Sodium pulls water into your bloodstream, and your kidneys have to process that fluid eventually. If a big salty meal was at dinner, guess when your body processes it? Right in the middle of the night. This connection between sodium timing and nighttime bathroom trips is one of the most underappreciated pieces of the puzzle, and I will come back to it in detail because it deserves its own full explanation. Mistake number 4, and this is the big one. Timing is more important than quantity. Most people think about how much water they are drinking. Almost nobody thinks about when. And this single shift, moving from how much thinking to when thinking, is the foundation of everything I am about to teach you. So now that you know what not to do, let us talk about exactly what to do. This is broken into 5 simple rules. I want you to really absorb these because together they form a complete daily rhythm, not just a random tip here and there. Rule number 1, front load your hydration. Aim to drink the majority of your daily water, roughly 70 to 80% of it, between the time you wake up and about 4 to 5 in the afternoon. Why this window? Because your body needs several hours to process fluid and move it through your system before bedtime. If you are well hydrated by mid-afternoon, your body is not scrambling to catch up in the evening, and it is not holding on to extra fluid that gets released the moment you lie down. Think of it like this. Your kidneys are not a bathtub drain that empties immediately when you pour water in. They process fluid at their own pace, which is deliberate and regulated. When you drink in the morning, your kidneys handle it during the day when you are moving around, active, and awake. When you drink at 8 in the evening, the timing is different. The processing window that follows overlaps with your sleep, and the output from that processing ends up in the bladder at 1 or 2 in the morning. A simple way to front load: keep a water bottle or a glass on your kitchen counter and refill it with your morning coffee, again at lunch, and again mid-afternoon. By dinner time, you should already feel caught up, not thirsty and rushing to drink more. This single shift has made a dramatic difference for patients who came to me having tried everything else, because they had never been shown a rhythm. They were just told to drink water without any guidance on the timing that makes the difference between a disruptive night and a restful one. Rule number 2, the 2-hour wind-down window. Starting about 2 hours before bed, begin tapering your fluid intake. This does not mean stopping completely. A few small sips are fine, especially if you are thirsty or taking evening medication, but this is not the time for a full glass of water, a cup of tea, or a bowl of soup. Think of it as a gentle closing of the tap, not a sudden shut-off. Your body responds much better to gradual changes than abrupt ones. If you stop all fluid intake suddenly and too early, you often find yourself lying in bed with a dry mouth that disrupts your sleep just as surely as the bathroom trips did, which is not the goal at all. The 2-hour window is designed to give your kidneys enough time to process what you drank in the late afternoon and early evening, so they are not receiving a fresh load of fluid to process at the exact moment you want to be entering your first deep sleep cycle. Rule number 3, watch the hidden diuretics. Caffeine and alcohol are both diuretics, meaning they actually pull more fluid out of your body than they put in, and that effect can last for hours. That afternoon cup of tea or coffee could still be affecting your kidneys well into the evening. And that glass of wine with dinner, as relaxing as it feels, is one of the most common and most overlooked causes of a 2 a.m. bathroom trip. The diuretic effect of alcohol is particularly significant because it interferes with a hormone called ADH, antidiuretic hormone, which is the signal that tells your kidneys to hold on to fluid while you sleep. When alcohol suppresses that hormone, your kidneys produce more urine than they otherwise would during the night, which is exactly the opposite of what you need. My advice: try to have your last caffeinated drink no later than early afternoon. And if you enjoy an evening drink, consider moving it earlier in the day or limiting it a few nights a week to see how your body responds. Even patients who are resistant to changing this habit are often converted once they see what 1 week without the evening wine does to their sleep quality. Rule number 4, the one almost nobody talks about: sodium timing. Most people think about water and caffeine, but almost nobody thinks about sodium timing. Here is why it matters so much. When you eat a salty meal, your body needs extra water to balance that sodium in your bloodstream, and it often pulls that water out of your tissues and processes it through your kidneys hours later, right as you are sleeping. This mechanism explains why someone can follow every fluid advice perfectly and still wake up repeatedly, all because of what they ate for dinner rather than what they drank. Here's the physiology behind it. Sodium has to be dissolved in water to be safely managed by the kidneys. If you eat a high-sodium meal at dinner, your body begins drawing fluid from your cells and tissues over the following hours to maintain the right sodium balance in your blood. That fluid ultimately lands in your bladder sometime between midnight and 3 in the morning. You feel the urge, you get up, and you blame your kidneys or your age or your bladder, when really you should be looking at your plate from 6 hours earlier. Here is the simple fix. Try to make your dinner the lightest meal of the day in terms of salt. Save saltier foods for lunch, when your body has hours of daylight and activity to process it. A lighter, lower sodium dinner is one of the most underrated tools for reducing nighttime bathroom trips, and almost no one is told this. I cannot count the number of patients who have come back to me after 2 weeks of shifting their salty foods to lunchtime, genuinely astonished at the difference it made. They did not drink less water. They ate their pasta at noon instead of 7 in the evening, and their nights changed almost immediately. Rule number 5, elevate and empty. The final step before bed involves 2 small habits that make a meaningful difference. First, in the hour or 2 before bed, if you tend to have swelling in your ankles or legs, try sitting with your legs elevated for 15 to 20 minutes. Here is what most people do not know about this. When you have been on your feet or sitting in a chair during the day, fluid naturally pools in your lower legs due to gravity. That pooled fluid does not just stay there. When you lie down, gravity is no longer pulling it down, and your body redistributes it. Your kidneys pick it up and process it, often right in the middle of the night. This is one of the most common hidden causes of nocturia that I see in practice, and it is especially prevalent in people who have any degree of leg swelling or circulation issues. Giving your body a chance to reabsorb and process some of that fluid before you lie down, rather than letting your kidneys do it at 2 in the morning, makes a real and measurable difference. Even 15 minutes with your feet above heart level on a recliner or a propped-up sofa can shift a meaningful amount of fluid through your system before sleep. Second, and this sounds almost too simple, always fully empty your bladder right before you get into bed and take your time doing it. Rushing can leave the bladder incompletely empty, which shortens the time before you feel the urge to go again. In patients who have issues with bladder muscle coordination, this incomplete emptying can trigger the sensation of urgency far sooner than a fully emptied bladder would. 2 more minutes before bed in exchange for an uninterrupted night is one of the better trades available to you. If you have made it this far, you are serious about protecting your health. Most people watch videos like this but forget to subscribe, and they miss future health advice that could make a real difference. If you are finding this helpful, take a second to subscribe. It is free, and it helps you stay informed week after week. Now let me show you what this actually looks like in a real day so you can picture yourself doing it. Because I have found over the years that a method you can visualize is a method you can actually follow. The difference between people who try something like this for a day and give up, and people who genuinely change their sleep within 2 weeks, is almost always whether they had a clear picture of what a full day looks like with these habits applied. So let me give you that picture right now, from the moment you wake up to the moment your head hits the pillow. Morning. Start your day with a glass of water before coffee. This is your foundation. Most people are mildly dehydrated just from a night's sleep, and starting here sets the tone for the whole day. It also gives your body an early signal that fluid is available and processing can begin, which supports the natural daytime fluid rhythm you want to maintain. Mid-morning to early afternoon, this is your main hydration window. Sip consistently, water, herbal tea, whatever you enjoy, aiming to have the bulk of your daily fluids finished by mid-afternoon. If you can track this with a simple marked water bottle, even better. Visual progress is surprisingly motivating and helps you avoid the afternoon realization that you have barely drunk anything, and now face a choice between being dehydrated or front-loading fluids at the wrong time of day. Lunch. If you are going to have a saltier meal, this is the time, not dinner. A sandwich, some crackers, your favorite soup. These belong at noon when your kidneys have the entire afternoon to deal with them, not at 7 in the evening when the deadline for processing is midnight. Late afternoon, your last caffeinated drink, if you have one. Not at 3 or 4. If possible, closer to noon or early afternoon. The half-life of caffeine is longer than most people assume, and it is still working on your kidneys at 10 in the evening. Dinner, lighter on sodium. A little less soup, a little less sauce, a squeeze of lemon or fresh herbs instead of extra salt for flavor. This is not about deprivation. It is about choosing when to have the things you enjoy, and choosing wisely based on what your kidneys will be doing while you sleep. 2 hours before bed, begin tapering fluids. Small sips only if needed. This is your wind-down signal to the bladder. Before bed, elevate your legs if you deal with swelling, then fully empty your bladder right before lying down. This is not about perfection. It is about rhythm. Even getting 3 or 4 of these 5 rules right consistently can make a real difference within just 1 to 2 weeks. I have watched this happen in patient after patient. Not dramatically, not overnight on the very first night, but predictably. The body responds to consistent patterns because it is designed to run on rhythms. Give it the right rhythm, and it almost always cooperates. And I want to be honest with you. For some people, nighttime urination is not just about water habits. It can be connected to other things, certain medications, blood sugar, prostate changes in men, or pelvic floor changes in women. If you have tried adjusting your water habits for a few weeks and you are still waking up multiple times a night, that is worth a conversation with your own doctor. Not because something is necessarily wrong, but because there may be an additional piece to your specific puzzle, and you deserve real answers, not guesswork. Let us bring it all together because I want you to walk away from this video actually being able to use what you learned. Here is your 5-rule method one more time. 1. Front load water earlier. 70 to 80% of your daily fluids before 4 or 5 in the afternoon. 2. Taper gently in the 2 hours before bed. Small sips only if needed, not full glasses. 3. Watch caffeine and alcohol timing. Caffeine by early afternoon, alcohol earlier in the day if you can manage it. 4. Shift sodium to lunch. Save your saltier foods for midday when your body has time to process them in daylight. 5. Elevate legs and empty your bladder. 15 to 20 minutes of leg elevation if you have swelling, then a complete unhurried bladder emptying before you get into bed. I know what it feels like to dread going to bed because you know you will be up again in a few hours. I know from my patients how exhausting that cycle becomes, not just physically, but mentally. The anticipation of poor sleep is its own kind of tiredness that follows you through your days and steals from the quality of every hour you are awake. You deserve a full night of real, uninterrupted rest. Not eventually. Starting tonight. Imagine waking up feeling truly refreshed without having been interrupted every few hours. That is what this method is designed to deliver, and it has delivered it for patient after patient who was willing to give it a consistent week. So here is my challenge for you. Try this method for just 7 days. Not perfectly, just consistently. And I genuinely want to know how it goes. Come back and tell me in the comments how many times you were up each night before you started, and how that number changes by the end of the week. I read every single one, and I want to celebrate that win with you. Your comments also help other people who are struggling with the same problem realize they are not alone, and that there is a real, practical approach that does not require medication or a specialist visit to get started. If this video helped you, do one thing for me and hit subscribe, because next week I am covering the second most common sleep disruptor after 60, and trust me, it is one you have probably never even considered. A lot of people are losing sleep to this second cause without any idea it is happening, and the fix is just as practical as everything we covered today. Thank you for spending this time with me today. Take care of yourself, and here is to your best night of sleep yet. I will see you in the next one.